Syl.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, wonderful Beena. Good morning, good
How are you
morning.
doing? How are you doing?
I'm good, Beena. I'm very good. I'm good and happy and, and joyful. You know, I was thinking things can always be better. And sometimes things, yeah, like it's a bit of a slow time or whatever. So, in other words, things aren't exactly how you'd like them to be. But that doesn't mean we can't be happy. We must be happy and
Exactly.
joyful even when things aren't exactly right. Yes?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes. It can be,
It's
of
very
course.
important.
Yes. It is important to pay attention. It is important to make deliberate choice every single day. And
Exactly.
this is
Exactly.
something I am paying attention to because I do have a habit of getting immersed
You
into
had
something
you
completely.
had a habit.
Yes, you can. I had a habit to completely immerse into something. This is okay. It is from childhood. This is how I used to be. At least now I'm saying it deliberately. But so far, this was the pet that I was. This is something I was kind of like identify myself. This is how other people know me that I do get immersed, which
Right.
is a good thing, which is a very good thing because I do
Yes, it's
invest
a
a lot
powerful
of
skill.
energy.
Yes, it's very
Yes,
powerful.
it's a and whatever I do it with full conviction, with full of my heart and soul and energy and everything.
Yes.
And for
And the
me, it is
fullness of your heart.
when I just take something, this is my thing. I'm just choosing because I do honor my choices and the responsibility which comes with the choices. So I do take that. That okay, this is something. Okay, so I'm doing, and this is okay. Like everything, um, when things are not entirely deliberate, not completely deliberate from your side, they do have some consequences. And same with this complete immersion. I have some consequences of that, which are not very desirable, not wanted, at least, or maybe not appropriate, because other things do get neglected. So for me, it is when I'm completely immersed into something, okay, whatever is happening in other areas of my life, they just kind of faded and it's kind of get into onto the back burner. So I'm working on it. This is something I feel I need to work on that, and I'm
Yeah,
working on this.
yeah.
So
Yeah, do not
again,
get sucked into a bubble unless you want to be in a bubble. Like when you're writing, for instance, then you want to be pulled into that bubble. But it's got to be something that's a matter of choice. Yes?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is, of course, I do get out of that immersion. So it has to be on choice. It has to be more frequent. It has to be more fluid. Which I need to work because it's not like that. Okay, I'm lost in something, so I'm for a lifetime. I'm just lost into that. No, it is not like that.
No.
But it is something I need to be more frequent in adapting, and of course, more fluid in adaptation to
Yeah,
switch over to something else, which is a big
yeah.
deal.
And to see it while it's happening, when it's happening, as it's happening. Yes?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
today, yes,
Bina,
yes,
this point that you're making is huge in terms of what Musashi has to say. Yeah, you can't lose your awareness. You've got to maintain that overview perspective and see the whole thing. And that's what we were talking about before. Situational awareness, contextual awareness. I prefer to call it contextual rather than situational. Contextual takes it in time as well, and the
yes,
bigger picture. But this is absolutely crucial when you get into combat situations. You forget. I was playing one of my games, a spaceship game, and I
hmm,
was attacked, and I was all on my own there. Didn't have my fleet anyway, and I forgot all about something. I had a defensive mechanism, and I completely forgot because I was trying to get away, trying to get away. Anyway, so I could have gotten away if I'd remembered that. Anyway, so see, anyway. Expensive lesson in immersion, bubbleness. It's a simple thing, but I forgot. One of the reasons I play games, they are ideal opportunities to train one's awareness. You don't think so, but if you make that point to do so, it becomes very, very powerful. Like I explained before, don't stand in the fire, you know, when it gets into that
Yes.
bubble. You know, what's nice with it, you because you're doing something in a group environment. Well, in this case, I was on my own, but there's an investment involved, right? Time and energy. The ship I was in, it's an expensive ship. It took a lot of time and energy to put together. And in terms of playtime effort, yeah, you can buy the ship with money you earned outside of the game, but still, you've got to still earn that money outside of the game, right? Yeah, it takes time and effort. So there's a real investment when you lose something. I mean, it's not the end of the world, of course, but yeah, it's still something that you don't want to do. So as a result, because there's a real investment, and especially if you're in a group environment, you don't want to be messing up and wasting everybody's time, and then it's called a wipe. You crash, you don't succeed, the boss kills everybody, and well, there you go, or the monster, right? And so it's called a wipe. You start all over again. Now whatever efforts were put into that attempt have to be repeated. So you wasted people's time in a way. So there's real pressure, and that pressure leads to this immersiveness, that loss of contextual awareness, loss of awareness. Yeah.
Yes.
But what's nice about the games is that we can repeat and do the stuff over and over again, and many times, especially in guilds. You're not the only one who's messed up. Everybody messes up, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. It's part of the fun. It's okay. I learn a bit more. Learn a bit more. You get that opportunity to practice via repetition. That's capital P, practice. Invaluable, especially if you have patient raid leaders or guild leaders. It's a beautiful, beautiful, magical thing. It's really precious. It's quite wonderful. Sid joined us, and Sid says hello and welcome to Moreness-Culture, or the Moreness-Culture, but Moreness-Culture works too. All right, I love that. Hello, Sid. Thank you for that. Yes, hello and welcome to Moreness-Culture. All right, let's get going, Beena. Let's get going right away. I shall screen share. And we have some interesting points coming up from Musashi here. Hey, dang it. I think I've got a spider that was walking around here. On my head. Felt something. Maybe I'm just jittery. Sorry. It was quite a big one. I don't think it's particularly harmful, but still. I chased it away, but it was on my leg earlier, and then it was on my screen. I don't want to kill them because they don't bother me in general, and they eat the flies and the mosquitoes who do bother me, and the mosquitoes especially. Um, but still, I still don't want it crawling around on me. I don't know if it's some spiders they won't kill you. They're not poisonous, but they can leave very painful bites. So
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yes, different culture have different understanding. In Muslim culture, and especially, okay, you can say that Islamic culture, you cannot have that cobwebs around, like, okay, in your house,
Oh,
because they do affect your understanding, your comprehension ability.
oh, wow.
Yes.
So they're like cobwebs in the brain. That's taking things a little
Yes.
literally, if you ask me. But all right, you know. I mean, I like them. Like I say, they catch the flies and mosquitoes, and I don't have any issue with those. So it works for me. Anyway, like I
Good.
say, different cultures, different cultures. All right,
Yes. Oh,
Beena,
yes.
will you read to injure the corners? Now,
Okay,
since
just
we
a
were talking,
minute. Just give me
yeah.
a minute. I'm just responding to the Insassy group. I'm just responding there. Just a minute.
Oh, good. Oh, good. All right, wonderful. I'll read this first one, then you can read the next one. To injure the corners. And I want to say, Musashi's tactics, I was talking about games. And you can sometimes apply this in games also. Yeah, you can do this. You can do this. I mean, in the game that I was talking about earlier, it's called Eve Online. It's a spaceship game, a very sophisticated game. And if you look this up on on YouTube, you can see big battles and There's some really good videos made by Rooks and Kings, very well narrated, and they just, they're talking about strategy and doing things differently and thinking out of the box. And they haven't been as active lately, but at one time, this was a very small group that took on huge, great big corporations, because in the game it's all corporate as the main entity, right? And there are empires, but it's all corporate. And I mean, literally, these have, like, I don't know, tens or hundreds of thousands of members, and they're huge, right? And they would defeat enemies much larger than them. I mean, there's some examples of them using a clever strategy or a tactic and just wiping out a whole fleet. But of course, if you pay attention really closely, they practice, they train with these things, if you hear. And they're very disciplined, right? And they're very thorough. And everybody knows exactly what to do. They're very coordinated. In other words, they're very professional about what they do. And then you can listen to others, big fleets where you hear the fleet commanders. Now, when you're a fleet commander, right, it's the same as being a commander or a general in a real army, except there's one difference. Right? In the games, right, you are now a commander, but you've got a bunch of volunteers. Yeah. You asking people to do things. Yes, the commander says, do this, do that, target this guy, he's the primary target, the secretary, whatever, right? You are giving commands, but nonetheless, you are still putting people in harm's way, at least their ships, not them personally. And, there's some loss to them. All right? Some of the big corporations, they sponsor you. If you lose your ship, they pay for it. But even so, you still need to get people to follow your orders, which requires an extra level of sophistication when it comes to command authority. And when you hear some of these fleet commanders, it's kind of a thankless job. But boy, it's quite amazing, simply, purely to listen to them from a point of view of their awareness, right? They've got to watch the whole battle and see. And then these are huge, big battles. There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, to get into the technical details of it, it's not much difference to a real battle, right? I mean, you got repairs, and you've got people supporting, you've got close range, long range, and people jamming you, and all sorts of complicated factors, right? So I'm making the point that lots of Musashi's tactics can be applied in game settings. I mean, in a very literal way, right? When he's talking about, especially talking about not single combat, but sometimes, but like this, to injure the corners. Yes. I mean, this, you can have a fleet and it's got corners. But when he's saying corners, he's using corners in inverted comma a little bit, right? And really, and this is and really what he should be saying is the support pillars, right? The center columns of things, those support pillars. It's like if you want to collapse a house, you can chop down, on the walls and the doors and everything, but you need to find the support beams, the support pillars. When you get those, then the house comes tumbling down, right? So there's a strategy when it comes to collapsing big structures. Take out the central things, and that is important. Of course, very often taking out the commander, the leader, will do that. But that's usually, like in chess, very well protected. Same thing in these games. But nonetheless, in these games, to take out the corners is a very important thing. Now, well, let me read this, and then I'll elaborate a bit more. I'm just saying that in a very literal way, you can use this in the game, right? And those games, sometimes they have thousands of players involved, tens of thousands, huge, great big battles. It's a very big deal. It's quite amazing, and not just from the scale of it, but the sophistication involved. And again, awareness, strategy, all of this. Very helpful. All right, so now we're going to say to injure the corners, but I'm going to apply it to something personal that we can use in our life that doesn't have to do with, warfare or games, even though it's warfare in the games, no matter, right? Something personal that we can do. I'll relate it in a moment. Let me just read it and then we'll go to that. To injure the corners. It is difficult to move strong things by pushing directly. So you should injure the corners, in inverted commas. In large-scale strategy, it is beneficial to strike at corners of the enemy's force. If the corners are overthrown, the spirit of the whole body will be overthrown. To defeat the enemy, you must follow up the attack when the corners have fallen. In single combat, it is easy to win once the enemy collapses. This happens when you injure the corners of the body and thus weaken him. It is important to know how to do this. Right? Now, in single combat, obviously the corners would be things like knees and ankles. the sword arm, the wrist or the elbow of the sword arm. All right. If you're using two, then you still got one. So you see, those are corners. You injure other parts, you can still move, you can still fight. You take out the knee or the ankle, that's it. Game over, really. Yeah. So corners are very critical. But how do we apply this in an abstract way? And I want to say this is what I do, and something that makes a difference. And I don't see this really anywhere. It is this language of conceptuality, which is another word for way of impeccability. But this language of conceptuality, it takes something like Musashi is saying, and it says, what is the abstract? How do I use what you are saying in situations that are not fighting? Yeah. So how do I apply to injure the corners? Let's say I've got a problem. Yeah, some kind of a problem. And look at, and you want to undo this problem. Look at what's supporting it. Look at for those center columns. Look for those corners in inverted columns. And look for the essential elements. Remove the essential element and the rest follows. Yeah. Right. Okay, let's take selling items, like we sell things on eBay. Yeah? So things aren't selling. Well, the corners of selling is people aren't seeing your posts. It's not always about price. Yeah, it's you may have the cheapest price, but if it's not visible, then nobody will be able to buy it. Which might mean that your titles are wrong, because they're searching for stuff and it doesn't describe your proper product. Or when they see it, your title is confusing. See essential corners. When you start to do this, solve many problems. Look for the essential issues from which everything else follows. So dependency points, you can call them, right? Things depend on this point. Things depend, your listing, it depends on being seen. Yeah, that's it. So how do you get to be seen? Well, all right. If you have a very low price, eBay will help you a bit and put it up there. But there are many cheap things. It has to be a low price relatively. eBay might not be aware if you're selling something unique. You may not be aware of how cheap your item is. It doesn't matter. There's no base of reference, right? So therefore, your title needs to be the issue. And then you may have a title. People look at it, but they say, well, I don't know what this is because the pictures are all fuzzy and unclear. Not only that, but if your pictures are bad, well, I don't trust this person. They're sloppy. They're not thorough. They're not doing a good job here. So even though it's a good price and I want the item, I don't want to buy from them. I'll find it somewhere else. See essential elements. Understand what the essential elements are in what you do. Very key. Again, you can take it to making a presentation, public speaking. What are the essential elements? You want something to grab attention. You don't have to be funny. People like to start them for the joke, get people relaxed. You don't have to do that. If that's not your strong suit, don't go by it. You can grab the attention by being earnest and being serious, saying, I've got something serious about that I want to share with you, and say what it is. Don't and ah. No, say right there and then explain it, right? So essential elements. The essential elements being getting people's attention, getting them to listen to you. And of course, for this, you need to have some confidence in yourself also, not just in what you say. If you're all doubtful and insecure, well, I don't know if I want to trust this person. They don't believe in what they're saying. Why should I? Essential elements. It's so crucial, and it's so easy when you start to think about that. Look for what's critical and the rest will follow, right? Critical elements, critical essential elements. Things that have dependencies on them, things that if you do this, the rest follows. Make sense, Beena?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. All right. Will you read, please, Beena, to throw into confusion?
Mhm. To throw into confusion. This means making the enemy lose resolve. Okay. In larger scale strategy, we can use our troops to confuse the enemy on the field. Observing the enemy's spirit, we can make him think here, there, like that, like this, slow, fast. Victory is certain when the enemy is caught up in a rhythm which confuses his spirit. In single
Yeah.
combat, we can confuse the enemy by attacking with varied techniques when the chance arises. Feint, a thrust, or cut. Feint, a thrust, or cut. Or make the enemy think you are going to close with him. And when he's confused, you can easily win. This is the essence of fighting, and you must research it deeply.
All right, so let's take this again to our selling example. If you're confusing your customer, you're doing this the one day, you're doing that the one day, you know your prices are all over the show, and you're trying different things. You have to have a little bit of consistency, a bit of rhythm, a bit of pattern. Yeah. If you just keep chopping and changing like that all the time, what's going on here? What's going on here? People don't like to be confused, even though it may make sense to you. You need to make sure it makes sense to your customers. Right? So need
Hmm.
to think like the enemy, think like your customer, not the enemy, customer. Customer is not an enemy. When I had the stores, um, one of them being, I had a couple of different ones. One was like gifts and jewelry, and the other one was all leather goods, and then one was the swords and knives, the armory. And especially in the swords and knife stores, counters all around, because the knives have to be glass counters, glass shelves, right? Everything on the shelf. Because you can't have it out in the open, obviously. And then all the stuff on the walls behind. Yeah. I have a picture somewhere. I've shown you the picture, right? Being a very small little picture. Unfortunately, I don't have a good picture. Anyway, now I said to I would just employ people that come, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to sell. I said, don't sell. What? What? And always so amazed. I said, no, don't sell. I don't want you to sell. Huh? Very like, what's going on now? No. And I said, don't sell. Help the customers to buy. That's your job. Job's not to sell. Your job is to help them to buy. Yeah. It's very easy. Yeah. Anyway, so then I would say to them, for instance, don't stand there behind the counter. Come out when the person's looking at us. Come and stand next to them and help them look through it. Do you want a big one or a small one? No matter what product you're selling. Most products can be divided into big or small, right? Or you're looking for budget, or did you want something a bit more luxury? Almost all products, any store you go into, there's a range of pricing, yes, which usually implies quality. You see, very simple. And when you start narrowing it down like that, okay, big one is small. No, I want the small one. You want budget to expand? Oh, I know it's a nice gift. I want something nice for my husband, whatever. Okay, and you show them the fancy ones, and then you say, well, did you want something plain, or did you want something, like sophisticated, or something very fancy? Just start breaking things down into half. If you take things, I mean, we probably had, I don't know, 10,000 knives in that store. Yeah. But you start dividing it by half, you'll be amazed how, 3, 4, 5, 6 times of keeping on dividing by half, you come to a very small selection. And you say, yeah. And then in that small selection, then when you say, well, okay, you want a fancy one, the small one, and you want it to be sophisticated, and all the other factors that you've now decided, you're left with one choice. And well, here you go. That's what you're looking for. Yeah. If you ask the people, and I see many stores, hello, good morning. What can I do for you? What are you looking for? Even though people have an idea, they can't express it. But then when you say, oh, you're a big one, no, I want something small. Oh, now they sort of start to get into what they're looking for, but they can't express it. So help people to buy. It was very simple. It was very successful. I did it like, sold very well. And again, it's not selling. I help people to buy. And now your customer's happy too. Yeah. I can sell, but I don't like selling. I refuse to do it, even though I can do it, because it doesn't leave a nice taste. When the customer has chosen the thing, you assist them because I know the product. Now they're very happy, and they're always left very happy. See, change of strategy, change of strategy. But this is very key, though, when we understand this, right? So to throw into confusion, if I ask the question, oh, what are you looking for? They don't know. Even though they know, they can't say what they're looking for. I throw them into confusion, and there goes your customer. Yeah, it's amazing. Very simple. So in this case, we're not looking to win battles, but we're also not looking to necessarily, like Musashi wants to deliberately throw his enemy into confusion. But we can use this in the inverse to say, don't you inadvertently cause confusion in your customers. Well, that's not going to help, right? So we can learn from this in the inverse, right? We don't necessarily want to cause confusion, but we also don't want to do so inadvertently, right? Make sense, Beena?
Yes.
Yeah. Please continue, Beena. Please continue. Powerful stuff. Very useful. Very powerful stuff. Yeah.
Yes, it is. The three shouts. The three shouts are divided thus: before, during, and after. Shout according to the situation. The voice is a
Okay.
thing of
One
life.
second. 1 second. Shout
Mhm.
here should be translated as ki. Yes, which is most people who've done some sort of martial arts, or if you watch the Karate Kids movies and stuff, you'll know what a ki is, right? Yes, it is a shout, but it is a particular shout that has intent in it. Now, in the dojos, they don't use this word intent, but if they did, it would greatly enhance the understanding of a ki. It is a shout with intent and energy. You are pushing out your energy in order to do something with that energy and that intent. Yes. So when we read shout here, hear the word ki. Yes, K-I-I, K-I-A, ki. Yes, pronounced with a split in a syllable, which is common in Japanese. And they don't use diphthongs all that often. They tend to split the vowels when they're together, like ki, right, as opposed to kia. Yeah. All right, please continue.
Okay. The voice is a thing of life. We shout against fires and so on, against the wind and the waves. The voice shows energy. In large scale strategy, at the start of battle, we shout as loudly as possible. During the fight, the voice is low pitched, shouting out as we attack. After the contest, we shout in the wake of our victory. These are the three shouts. In single combat, we make as if to cut and shout E at the same time to disturb the enemy. Then, in the wake of our shout, we cut with the long sword. We shout after we have cut down the enemy. This is to announce victory. This is called Sengo no Koi, before and after voice. We do not shout simulate, simulate.
Simultaneously.
Okay, it was break. Okay, simultaneously with
Yeah.
flourishing the long sword, we shout during the fight to get into rhythm. Research
Yes.
this deeply. Sound
Yes.
is and then shout. Okay, but in this case, actually, it is sound. For
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
personally, it is very interesting because we do this. The sound is something which goes out from us, and it is received by other people. Like it's a
Yes.
very unique and a very interesting kind of a sense because when we project
Yes.
sound, other people actually receive that, and we can touch them in a different kind of touch, in a different kind of way. We can touch them with our voice, with our sound, and that's why we feel that energy.
Yeah.
This is how people actually perceive us. Majority of understanding, which from other people, from senses, comes from sound also. This is very interesting. And what he's saying is, it is actually just a very powerful association management he's creating here,
Yes.
creating association, and
Yes.
it is to remind and giving triggers or reminders to your own mind and awareness that
Yeah.
what is happening right there. So very good
Right.
strategy. Part of the
And
strategy is
also it's about energy management. Yes. Uh,
yes.
this you don't have to use this in combat, obviously, but how can we use it in our daily life? Yes. You
Mhm.
can use it in sports, for instance. Yes.
Mm.
And it's quite amazing. I've even seen some kind of a cheer, which is an alternative version of a shout, used in business meetings, for instance, right? You get together and you're all finished, and especially in America, they love to put these hands on top of each other and they go, rah, 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 rah. It's like a formula that they do, but it's a way of consolidating the energy, locking into it. It's about adding punctuation, closing things up. Yeah. So we can use these sounds. And when you think of it in a more personal way, if you take those sounds and you sophisticate them, and we get to using them as greetings, you'll notice that when we start our lives and we end our lives, Beena and I are very particular about our greetings. because as part of Way of Impeccability, greetings are very, very important. And as part of the capital H hearing program, same thing. Your greetings are your bookends. Be sure to make sure that your greetings are appropriate. Same thing as he said now, your shout. You got the beginning shout and the end shout, and you got the middle shout. Yeah. So the middle shout, at least while we're doing it here, it's not as contained because our shout is our content, but our greetings are that end in the middle. Yes. Very, very, very powerful. Same concept. In other words, it's about energy management. It is about making things whole, achieving a balance, and having an understanding. Here's the start, here's the end, so that you have closure. Because otherwise, your energy stays connected to the issue. If you don't close your fight, you're still going to be fighting the next day, even though the fight is over. Yeah, see? Or you don't know when to start. Right? So that, and your energy lingers, and so poor usage of energy. So when we look at many of these strategies, all about energy management, same thing. Those shouts or the ki, it can be used as a motivational tool. It can be used as a demoralizing tool for the enemy. Yes. If you've never seen a rugby match with the All Blacks, watch one, an international match, right? Watch them. And when they do the haku, right, in the beginning, the dance, right? It's very powerful. I mean, I've never seen any other team have such a powerful thing. And, you see the other team and they stand there with their mouth full of teeth, like, dang, this is really cool and awesome. And you're on the back foot already, just at the beginning of the match. They do that. It's a Maori war dance, right? And it's very powerful. I mean, you could up. Uh, I'm trying to remember the exact name. I'm not sure I'm remembering it. Remembering it exactly, but anyway, you can look it up. It's really something to see, and of course, it's very powerful. And I never saw other teams kind of figure out their own version of it. Yeah, it just kind of, well, it's the All Blacks, and we don't have anything to match this. Yeah, so I mean, you can have a rousing war song. There are plenty of them, that rouse your spirit and your energy. They're very invigorating. Sing that, make your own song up. Anyway, a lot of things you can do, but a creativity. But the point is, it's about declaring your intent, yes, and showing who you are. Which, of course, this is very powerful. You are doing things which are leveraging the situation. All of these points in the overview perspective, capital L leverage, it's in the Dictionary of Power, an extremely powerful concept. So when we use sound, shouting, a cheer, a ki, it's not only energy management, but it's also leverage. Yes, we're leveraging in many different ways. And a really well-timed ki during the battle can completely discombobulate your enemy. Yes. And you can use it from an association management point of view. You ki every time you strike, yeah, but then you strike and you ki just a fraction of a second later. See, see the benefit of that. Now, your opponent doesn't see your sword coming because they're expecting it with the ki, and when the ki comes, they're out of timing and they get a bit discombobulated. Yeah, but also that ki can be a physical force if done well. You can put your energy right into their gut, into their stomach, yes, into their center, into their abdomen, and it can throw them out, right? It's like piercing them with sound. Yeah, very powerful stuff. So if you know what you're doing, you can use this. Now, all right, this is fighting in battle. We don't want to do this, but like I said, you can use it in sports. You can have your, you know, you sound like a song or something, which if during a business meeting, for instance, or at the start of a business meeting, or at the end of it. Many ways to use this. You can do it for yourself too. Just get a cheer going. Personal. It just at any time of the day. I use greetings. Saying hello to the world. It invigorates me because I'm connecting to the moreness of the world. Hello, world. And when you're greeting something as profound and magical and awesome and vast and huge and incredible as the world, how do you not say it with the utmost of reverence and profoundness and awe involved? You can't. It's the only appropriate way to greet the world. Yeah, greetings, very powerful, right? Same concept here. Okay? It's a connectivity. It's a matter of establishing appropriateness. Yes, Beena, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Establish appropriateness. Very helpful. All right, to mingle.
Okay. To mingle. In battles when the armies are in confrontation, attack the enemy's strong points. And when you see that they are beaten back, quickly separate and attack yet another strong point on the periphery of his force. The spirit of this is like a winding mountain path. Winding or winding?
Winding.
Winding. Mountain path. This is an
It
important
winds
fighting.
around, right? Like string winding
Oh, okay.
around.
Okay. This is an important fighting method for one man against many. Strike down the enemies in one quarter or drive them back, then grasp the timing and attack further, strong points to right and left, as if
Yeah.
on a winding mountain path, weighing up the enemy's disposition. When you know the enemy's level, attack strongly with no trace of retreating spirit. In
Yeah.
single combat, two, use this spirit to deal with the enemy's strong points. What is meant by mingling is the spirit of advancing and becoming engaged with the enemy and not withdrawing even one step. You must understand this.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So when we look at this, we understand the abstract essential of it is that in most confrontational situations, in battles, for instance, the issue is belief, not who's got the stronger army, who's literally got the more fighters. It matters not whether you have stronger enemies, better fighters. What matters is the belief that it is so. When you start attacking the strong points and the strong points are defeated, the weak points say, well, if the strong can get defeated, what hope is there for me? Belief in victory now goes. See? It's all about belief. Yeah? All about belief. So when we understand this, it's the issue isn't physical violence, but psychology. It's the key. It's the key. And and it can work counterproductive. For instance, you take the war in Ukraine, right? You see the Russians bombing the cities. These are just people's homes. You're destroying my property. Can you imagine if a bomb landed in your building that you live in, Beena, and took out half the building, and you'd have to go somewhere else? The building is now about to fall down. Uh, Not only the
Yes.
owner of that building, but you guys, I think you own the apartment that you live in. Your property's just been destroyed. What do I have to do with this? I'm not fighting. I have nothing to do with you. You just stealing from me.
Yes.
Why is it okay? Because no, you're stealing from me. You're taking my. If somebody did this just for no reason at all, and they knew it was, that person would go to jail and have to pay reparations and everything, right? It would be a criminal and a civil action, right? They would have to pay for it. Uh, but
Yes.
the point I'm making is they do this because they are, well, first of all, it's a stupid thing. It's Russia versus Ukraine. It's always idiotic. It's some politician versus another politician. Yeah? But in this case, it's kind of productive because they're looking to do the belief, right? The belief that they can win. You start destroying people's property, it tends to demoralize them. Except in some cases, it has the reverse effect. In Ukraine, all that destruction just makes people more determined. If you're willing to do this, and now you want to come and be in power, what else aren't you going to do when you are in power? You have no morals, you have no ethics. How can we possibly allow you to be in power? Yeah. So it's a stupidity. It's a very poor tactic. Again, when you're thinking shallowly and you're thinking superiority paradigm, it's all about force. I'm going to dominate you. I'm going to force you. You must respect me because I'm powerful. No, I don't have to respect you. You're an idiot. No matter that you've got some strength and power, and you're still an idiot, and you have no morals and no ethics and no honor. I can't respect you. So it can be counterproductive, right? So this in Putin's case, he thinks he's striking at the corners, but in this case, it's the inverse. Him taking down those corners actually makes the whole case stronger. No? I was reading in a story, very similar situation. Uh, you know, a whole, it's like an empire, and they come and they invade a part of space and they take over the spaces and the planets. And then the one governor, he says, well, if you don't follow what I'm saying, I'm going to kill every single, if you resist me, I'm going to kill every single person in the city. And, and it's a huge, like, space, area of space, many, many planets, right? I would have said to that guy, sure, go ahead. And he's like, what? Yeah, go ahead. If you kill a bunch of innocent people because they're resisting your occupation, you are just telling them directly with proof that you have no morals, no honor, no scruples. This is fantastic. Now, at this point in time, it's a political squabble. You do that, and all the people will start resisting you. So you're just going to sink your own boat. See? Think differently. Think differently. Don't just assume the obvious. Yeah. Very important, very important. So to mingle with the enemy also, this is to understand them from the inside. You're getting involved. And when you really get in so close and so involved, if you don't lose yourself, like Beena was saying at the start, if you can maintain your awareness, maintain your individuality, maintain your purpose, in other words, and maintain that clarity of intent. Now, with that mingling, your intent is going to prevail. Yes, because mostly if you mingle like that, if somebody doesn't have the same degree of awareness, they're going to lose their focus. They're going to lose what's going on because they get all involved with you. Yeah, and they're going to lose what's going on. Very important. Very, very important. Very powerful. But again, it's a fighting thing. How do we use this in our daily lives? Yes, mingle with your customers. Help them to buy. Great example of mingling. Yes, I get really inside the customer. I find out what they want, and not what they say they want, but what they really want. Because that's two things. They might say, "Well, I want something nice." Well, it means I really want something cheap. I don't want to spend. I'm a cheapskate, and I have to get this gift. I don't really want to, but I have to get something. So I want something that looks expensive, but actually is cheap. Mingle with your client, you'll understand them exactly, or your customer, right? See, people don't always say what they want. You can't ask them, but when you mingle, you get to understand. Okay, and you can get them what they want. It's not always possible. Sometimes people want square circles, but then you say, look, sorry, that doesn't exist what you want. You'll have to settle for this and compromise. But as long as they feel they've compromised and they're not overspending, they're okay. Psychology. It's very powerful. It's very well. Leverage. But mingling is very important, right? It's that getting inside. Please continue, Beena. Please continue.
Okay. To crush. Okay. This means to crush the enemy regarding him as being weak. In large-scale strategy, when we see that the enemy has few men, or if he has many men, but his spirit is weak and disordered, we knock the head over his eyes, crushing him utterly. If we crush lightly, he may recover. We must learn the spirit of crushing as if with a hand grip. In single combat, if the enemy is less skillful than ourselves, if his rhythm is disorganized, or if he has fallen into evasive or retreating attitude, we must crush him straight away with no concern for his presence and without allowing him space for breath. It is essential to crush him all at once. The primary thing is not to let him recover his position even a little. You must research this deeply.
So in modern times, this has been called shock and awe. Yes, this is the strategy of shock and awe. And it's so, again, the psychology of it. You want to make sure you come in so powerfully that, first of all, even while there are still forces, they get so discombobulated and demoralized they can't fight. And then you absolutely put the smack down and prevent them from coming back at all. All right. So this, we don't want to be fighting. How will we use this in our modern day lives? Okay, let's take it into something that's, again, from a personal example. Take this with publishing a book. Yes. Now, you're not fighting against anybody, but you are competing. You're competing against every other book that's out there. You're not only competing against book. When you think of it in terms of time, you're competing against movies, you're competing against TV, you're competing against sports, you're competing against, people doing their own sports, going outdoors, activity, family, you're competing for their time. So you're competing with every other thing that holds their interest. It's quite remarkable, yes, when you think of it that way. So now when you say, okay, if you are able to do this, and of course it takes resources and it's difficult to do if you don't have resources, but should you have resources, then when you do release your book, you've got to go maximum. And you can see this sometimes when you see, like, the major publishing houses. I think there's 5 of them. They call them the big 5, right? When they're releasing a book from somebody like some celebrity, maybe it's not like a household celebrity, but I saw the Jim Comey, yes, was the FBI director at the time of when before Trump came into power, right in the beginning of Trump's regime. But he was very active, and he was in the news at the time when Hillary and Trump were in the race together, and he caused some trouble because of investigation. Nonetheless, so he's written a book now, but he's writing fiction, yeah, a lot of people are like tell-all books, and they tell about their time in the administration from the inside. No, he's writing a fictional book because, he knows this. But here's the key, though, right? So when the publishers, they understand this guy is not necessarily a household name. People who are into politics, they know what he is. But if you're not into politics, you don't know, got a clue who he is. But so what they'll do is they'll use this to crush the shock and awe. They go flat out. They will run ads. They will put him on every talk show that's possible. Yes, and they will do major book promotions and book signings and all of the different marketing campaign ideas, so that when this is out there, it's like all over the show. And suddenly, even if you aren't aware, wow, this must be something, because, wow, I see this guy everywhere and everybody's talking about it. You generate that momentum, right? And you keep at it. You keep at it. You can't just have the guy go on a couple of big shows and then leave it. No, you've got to be persistent and have him come back again and follow up and all of the stuff, right? If possible, right? So this is to maintain that presence, to push. It's the same principle, the same strategy applied, right? It's wonderfully, wonderfully powerful. Wonderfully powerful. Beena, I'll read the next one. Will you just make sure to see what the messages are there? I hear the, oops.
Okay.
My screen. Well, maybe we can't continue. Maybe we'll have to end it here. My screen just went black. I hope my computer's not rebooting. Can you hear me, Beena?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, if it may be that my computer just reboots. I don't know why it decided to just go black now. I don't know. Very odd. Okay, let's turn it on. I don't know. Yeah. Very odd. Anyhow, I was saying this overwhelming, force, it applies, like I say, it applies in marketing also. And obviously, if you can go viral, well, now you've got something really profound going on. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, Beena. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I don't know why that. There we go. All right. Will you continue reading, please, Beena?
Just a minute till I'm responding. So.
Okay, I'll read. Okay. The mountain sea change. The mountain sea spirit means that it is bad to repeat the same thing several times when fighting the enemy. There may be no help but to do something twice, but do not try it a third time. If you once make an attack and fail, there is little chance of success if you use the same approach again. If you attempt a technique which you have previously tried unsuccessfully and fail yet again, then you must change your attacking method. Yes, because again, it's all about belief. If you're doing something that fails and you keep doing failure, you're going to teach your enemy that you can't win, and give them confidence, give them a boost. Yes. If the enemy thinks of the mountains, attack like the sea. If he thinks of the sea, attack like the mountains. You must research this deeply. Do different things. Don't just do the same things. Yeah. And even if you do something, it fails. If you immediately do something else with confidence, they might think that you did that on purpose to lure them, right? To attract them. And you can be doing that if you have sophisticated strategy. Yes, I'm failing with my attack, but in that attack, I cause you to step a little bit to the side. in order to defend against it successfully. And then I do it again, and you step a bit more to the side. Okay, Musashi, I'm going to do it a third time. Why? Because this time you step into a hole that you didn't see. See, if you're doing multiple things, it's a different story. Think strategically, think bigger picture. Don't just accept that you can't. Insist there is a way. Insist there is a way. Doesn't matter whether you can see it or not. Just by insisting there's a way, we can reverse engineer, right? So this reverse engineering is very, very powerful. There've been many examples of where people believed something was true. Like this has happened a couple of times. You know, a professor would say to the students, "Okay, here's this. Let's just say a way to use water as fuel. Yes. Okay. Now, I'm not asking you to invent it. This already exists. But the exercise to demonstrate your technological proficiency and to understand that you understand science and chemistry and all this stuff, you've got to reinvent the wheel, as it were. Right. So you can't go look up the experiments. You can't see what's happening. You got to recreate it from scratch. Now, they may not present it in this way, but nonetheless, you know, some variation. And because the students believed it was possible, they found a way to do it when it hadn't been done before. Yeah, it's very, very, very powerful. So it's amazing when you have to, right? There's a great story that I've written about. It's an apocryphal story, which means it may or may not be true, but nonetheless it makes the point. It doesn't really matter whether it's true or not, but there's probably some version of it. And during the Second World War, the Germans ran out of rubber because rubber, you know, it comes from rubber plantations, and it wasn't under their control, and it was a far away thing. So and there's no substitute for rubber, right? Many other things like coffee, they didn't have coffee. They made ersatz coffee, they called it, out of acorns, from oak trees, right? Acorns, made coffee out of that. Um, One didn't taste as great, out of chicory, for instance, plant that grows. So they've many substitutes, but for some things there is no substitute. So rubber was one of them, and they had a problem with their fan belts wearing out. Fan belts are made of rubber, so the Germans, they have, you know, many working people working for them that aren't part of their work effort, and they don't really want to support them, but they forcing them to do. Anyway, there's a bunch of scientists, and they said, well, you know, the Germans came and they said, or the Nazis, not really Germans, the Nazis came and they said, because there's a difference between Nazis and Germans, right? We need to be discriminate here, right? The Second World War was the Nazis, not the Germans. Many Germans did not support that. Yeah, Nazis were a minority, yes, maybe a big minority, but they're nonetheless a minority. And a lot of people caught up in propaganda. But anyway, beside the point. Anyway, so they say to these scientists, you've got to find a way to make these the fan belts last longer. And if you don't, we're going to kill you. And they did. You know, they killed some of the scientists just to prove their point. So now these scientists are under pressure. They're under pressure, right? And I actually wrote the story as a story about necessity not being the mother of invention. Because in the story, a whole bunch of the scientists died. They couldn't find an answer. They couldn't find an answer. So much for necessity being the mother of invention. There's many things that were necessary, like flush toilets. We went for thousands of years without flush toilets, and ever since pottery was invented, flush toilets were possible. Nobody ever thought to do it, right? So to me, the mother of invention is not necessity, but the desire to improve. Yeah. If you don't have the desire to improve, you can have all the necessity in the world. But when necessity meets desire to improve, then you get something that happens. Anyway, eventually, just out of nowhere, random, one scientist figures out how to solve the problem. And all they did was they made a Mobius loop. Yes, they took the fan belt and you cut it, and then you give it one twist, and then you reattach it. Now, when the fan belt runs, it runs as a figure of 8 around the two pulleys. And what happens is it uses both sides of the fan belt, and it spreads the wear more evenly, and the fan belts lasted much, much longer. Right? Problem solved. But the moral of the story is that necessity is not the mother of invention. And when you think about doing things differently, and you assume that there is a solution, that's the point I'm making. You work backwards, right? Don't try and invent from the bottom up. Say, if there was a way that made this work, well, then you could start. Well, what's the problem here? The problem is this: the fan belts are wearing, and they would wear on one side of the fan belt more than the other. Uneven wear. How can we make it wear more evenly? You start to think this way, well, the next thing you're going to come up with that Mobius loop. It's not that hard, right? It's not that complicated. But if you start from this, looking at the thing, look at things strategically, look at the elements, look at the key points, look at what matters, have clarity of intent, all comes back to the same thing. Always comes back to the same thing. But when you have this key element, so much of Musashi can be summarized in a few key words: leverage, strategy, essential elements, etc. Right? And when we make a dictionary of power out of this, you'll see that he's repeating specific things, which are hard to remember all the specific details, but the abstract concept, like don't fall into a pattern, don't be predictable. That's your key strategic elements, right? Yeah. Same things get repeated over and over again. All right. I like this to penetrate the depths. That's a nice title for tomorrow. So I think we'll end here today. Yes, Beena?
Okay. Yes. It's a good point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
today we now it is making more sense that how the corporate culture, because Japan, at least
Yeah.
as per my understanding, uh, they are very influential in terms of corporate culture and business also. And because they have the influence of Musashi's understanding of the spam thing and all, it is, of course, it spreads all over. And now you understand that how they are so focused, and how this whole business is based on the fighting mindset, like really a war mindset. Again, very primitive. Again, uh, basic thinking, of course, um, but at least I can say that it was some sort of understanding at that point. At that time, we need to, as humans in general, we need to improve. We need to progress and learn more and different perspectives. There are always more options other than killing someone, or virtually or literally, in both ways.
Correct.
There are
Correct. There are
always,
always more options. Yes.
yes, there are always more
Confrontation,
options.
combat is a last resort.
Exactly.
And even
So there
then,
are
don't even
always,
think of it as a last resort. Think of it as a non-option. When you insist it's not an option, you'll find other ways.
exactly. So this is something we need to pay attention to. We can get value out of things which are like, okay, yes, this is an absolute no for me. But when you say
Correct.
that, okay, this is not for me, this is an absolute no for me,
Correct.
then your mind, and you actually give your mind a signal to
Oh.
look for more, to create more options, because this is something I'm not going to do that. Okay, so now
Yes.
what? So this
Yes.
is actually, you
Yes.
are, by limiting and closing the doors to this primitive mindset, you are forcing your mind, your awareness, to open the door to moreness.
Right.
And this is something we really, okay, I really appreciate that, the process of capital R readings, that we can extract value out of things which are completely no for us. No, no.
Yep. Yep. There are many things that are worse than death, causing horror, causing pain, causing misery. This we don't want to be doing that. No, thank you very much. If my choice is to cause misery to many people and cause suffering, long-term suffering, etc., I'd rather die. Thank you very much. I don't want to live with that. Yeah, obviously, I want to make an effort to see not to have that happen. But at the same time, if, those are my only choices. But there's always a choice. There's always a different choice. There's always an option. When we realize this, our minds start to think differently. Just because I cannot see the choices doesn't mean they don't exist. And this is absolutely essential in strategy. Insist there are choices, and you'll find them. Our reality is pretty fluid. Yeah. Things change to make choices. If they weren't there, things change, and then suddenly they're there. Just have to insist. Just have to insist. Very, very important. Right, Beena? Sher joined and Anne joined on Instagram and
Yes.
IG. So hello, wonderful, great to see you here. I lost my live there now. I had to refresh, so I don't know what happened, but okay, something weird. I don't always know with Instagram. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird sometimes. All right, Beena, we'll
Yes.
end it right there. We'll end
Yes.
it.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone who ever joined us live, like Share Unbound, and also Lubna Sid was there, Dushka Tariq was there, and
And
Beena Sid was there.
Anne Peralt was there as well.
Okay, yes. So thank you so much for joining us. We are doing and we have been doing these live sessions of capital R reading of Miyamoto Musashi's work of Five Rings at 10. I don't know the mountain time and of course the central time for you guys. But this is just an hour from now on. We are doing this every day except Saturdays. Capital R
Yeah,
reading is a process of not
yeah,
just reading a book and just becoming aware of that, okay, what that book was saying, but it is going beyond that. It is extracting value. Even the book itself is not sharing and not intended to share the value and the moreness. This is the magic of moreness. We are sharing with everyone. So if you are here, of course, you can always join us same time tomorrow. Also, please do click like or leave a comment, or if you have a question, if you have a perspective on that, please do share. We love to share that. And also we are open for suggestions. If you want us to do capital R reading of one of your favorite books, so please do come and share with us. We will
yeah.
consider that at appropriate time, because of course we have all the things other than this scheduled. So as appropriate, we will do that too, and we would love to do that.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Shah. And also, I miss Norma today. I don't know where she is, but okay, Norma, yes, you're also
Yes, yes,
uh,
yes.
here
Norma's
with
been very
us.
busy with stuff, and so
Okay, okay, no problem. Just
that
saying
was
that. Okay, hello, Norma, and thank you so much. Please, if you are watching us on YouTube, recorded, please do click like and subscribe to our channel,
and
because
leave a
by doing
comment.
so,
You
you are
know,
going to, yes, you are going to train your online algorithm, and that is really crucial from now on. Of course, it was being very crucial from the beginning of this online and social life, but now it is becoming more and more serious, because it is becoming our life now. Do pay attention to that, what you really want to see, what you really want to see more in your life, and
oh,
how it is going to be applied, by clicking likes, by subscribing to the channel which you feel that are relevant and pertinent to your understanding and to your life. So by doing so, you are not going to only not just bringing moreness to your life, but also you are going to eliminate the chances of nonsense stuff in your news feed. This is a big deal. Thank you
oh,
so much for joining us. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much, sir, for
yes,
sharing.
yes. Ah, pleasure. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye. See you
Bye for
tomorrow.
now.
Thank you, Beena. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye. All right, end meeting for